The Criterion Collection is filled with many interesting and important films. This range from independent films to Hollywood blockbusters to films from around the world. There is a film for you in the collection. But there are some films that are essential to every cinephile out there. And today I am talking about 10 of those essential films. Each one of these films should be in your collection. I don't mean if you like it or if you dislike it, if you've never heard of it. These 10 films are what I would classify as important films that have changed cinema in some way. You might have heard of these films before, so this video is mostly for the Criterion novice. If you're trying to get your Criterion collection started. The starter pack, if you will. So I can ramble on forever about different adjectives about these films, but I'm going to start. And I'm going to go by number order. The first film is going to be spine number 2. And if you know anything about the collection, you know what that number is, that film is, and that is Akira Kurosawa, Seven Samurai. Now this is, this one is good to get out of the way because it is probably the most recommended Criterion ever. This has a 4K. I got the Blu-ray right here. It has a beautiful box set with a digipack slipcase with all the scenes. A beautiful book with 2 discs with a buttload of special features. Seven Samurai is not Akira Kurosawa's first masterpiece. I would say that is Rashomon, but if you're even, more cooler, maybe Drunken Angel. But this is the film that solidified his legacy. This is the original template for the modern day action film. That's right, this is an action film. Samurai G.I. Geki film. It stars Tofudo Mufune. I'm sorry, I don't butcher Japanese name on this channel a lot. And it's, a tale as old as time. A village needs help, and they go out and get help, and only 7 samurai accept said help. It's also over 3 hours long with an intermission, which is mind-blowing if you don't know about that. I remember first time watching this, and it was an intermission. I was like, what the heck? And it's in the film. It's ingrained. It's not like, say, The Hateful Eight, where there's an intermission and they just cut it away. Beautiful film. Highly recommended. Action film. If you're new to this world cinema, this is action, right? So if you're a film bro, this is right up your alley. This is a film that hits all the quadrants. I love this film, and you will most likely will too. And if you are a fan of this film, after you pick it up, after you watch it, there are many more criterions for you to pick up. Maybe I'll talk about them in other top 10 lists. But Seven Samurai, essential. If you're new to the Criterion, first pick up Seven Samurai, especially if you don't know what you want to get. Next is spine number 5, and this guy actually just got a box set, but I'm not really interested in that, and that is The 400 Blows by François Truffaut. Trying to get the glare out of there. French New Wave is something, when I was growing up trying to become a cinephile, was thrown around a lot. There's many French New Wave films in the collection. I'll mention one right now. You may be able to replace this with Breathless. I don't know. I like this one slightly more. Breathless is a little too Mirandery. But 400 Blows, François Truffaut's first film. If you don't know about the French New Wave, it was these French film critics who were tired of the French film system, and they put their money where their mouth is and started a revolution of film. Shooting film cheap, shooting film on location. It was a revolution, right? It inspired all your favorite filmmakers' favorite filmmakers. So in 1959, François Truffaut, which you might have seen him in the film The Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He is one of the scientists. He's like the main scientist in that film. But this is loosely based off of his life as a kid, and it's just beautiful, right? This shot, on the cover is such a beautiful coming of age. It's about this kid named, I think, Anton and Antone, and he's like a young kid trying to get around in life, and he has this father figure that's not really his father, and his mother doesn't really care. It's just this beautiful coming of age story that is a must own for anybody trying to get into the Criterion and film in general, right? The French New Wave is extremely important for cinephile history, film history, and if you want to have be in the conversation, 400 Blows is a great start to the French New Wave. Now, you can't really talk about classic 1950s films without talking about Ingmar Bergman. And there are several Ingmar Bergman films you can talk about. I got the whole Essential, the complete Bergman box set right there, if you can see. I got them watching over me. And you can pick a lot. You can put Persona, Wild Strawberries. Many of his films are already individually in the collection. But the one I'm picking, the easiest one to talk about, the easiest one to recommend, the one that's been parodied the most in films, and that is The Seventh Seal. Yes, I own it twice. That's how good it is. Seventh Seal, it stars the homeboy, Max von Sydow, the exorcist himself, and he's a knight from the Crusades going home, but before he goes home, he is stopped by death, and death plays a game with him. Now, that is kind of the story. It's not the only part of the story, but this film is just really an experience. Like, I can tell you about it. I can be like, oh, look at this and this. But it's an experience. You have to go out and watch this film. This film, there's nothing like it, right? The religious symbolism in it, the heart, soul of this film, the pain, the sin in this film has to be experienced. It cannot really be told. So, if you're trying to get into Ingmar Bergman, who is one of the most important filmmakers, you can either buy that box set, which I am not recommending, or start right here with The Seventh Seal. Spine number 11. So we're going to jump forward in time, 1989, to spine number 97 with Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. Spike Lee also stars in this film, and this is about one hot summer day in Brooklyn, and this film is essentially an opera in Brooklyn. It's an opera. The dialogue is so stylized and beautiful. There's nothing like it, right? The tones and themes of the film still are relevant to today, but that's not what only makes this great. Spike Lee's filmmaking is phenomenal, right? Is phenomenal. His camera work, again, it takes place on one block, but it feels like you're in a whole city, right? And you have all these mixed personalities. Usually with these independent films that I've noticed, or lower budget films, you follow just a couple people. No, you're following a group of people during the whole day, and you're getting a bunch of different personalities, a bunch of different answers, right? The whole movie is called Do the Right Thing, but all these different people have their own definition of the right thing. And it's really up to you, the viewer, to decide what the right thing is, and Spike Lee doesn't give you the answers. And I love that. There are no answers here. Do the right thing. There is no right thing. Or is there? I don't know. You tell me down below. Tell me down below, what is the right thing? Spike Lee. Man. We're going to jump back to the 1950s because apparently that's the greatest era of cinema. No, it's not. Is spine number 538. That's right. You know it. I love it. Stanley Kubrick's Paths of Glory, starring Kirk Douglas. That's right, the biological clone of Michael Douglas, the predecessor, the big boss to Michael Douglas, Solid Snake. But again, Stanley Kubrick, again, if this is your starter pack, right? So you got your Kurosawa, you got your French art film, you got your Ingmar Bergman, you got somewhat contemporary masterpiece. Stanley Kubrick is not a guy who you need to be told, right? 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, Shining, right? Full Metal Jacket, Eyes Wide Shut. You don't got to introduce him. But his first masterpiece, don't get me wrong, I like one other film. Oh, I love all the other films in here, right? Especially the one noir one. But this is better than that. I'm not saying name because I'm going to make a video about that one later. So stay tuned. But Paths of Glory is this heartbreaking anti-war film that is a satire, but it's a drama at the same time. And it's about these generals in, I believe, France. Another movie that takes place in France. And they really just want war. And they don't care what happens to the soldiers. They can die, because they will die with honor. And Kirk Douglas plays the one commander that wants to stick up for his men. And it really doesn't matter. And there's this beautiful war sequence where the camera's like this with Kirk Douglas following him through the trenches. Oh yeah, it takes place in World War I. And then this, again, brutally beautiful sequence where, the camera is panning to the left and Kirk Douglas is like, and his men are going through the no man's land, and they're all getting killed. Right? I don't want to tell you too much of the film, even though I have, but it's a beautiful film. If you're a Stanley Kubrick fan and you haven't seen Paths of Glory, check it out. If you're a fan of this, there are other Stanley Kubrick films in the collection, like I alluded to earlier. Paths of Glory, Essential Criterion. Man, I did not realize how many 1950s films I picked for this video. I was like essential films. I went through my collection, I wrote them down. And all these films besides like 4 are not. So the next film I'm recommending is find number 541, and that is Night of the Hunter, directed by Charles Laughton. Yes, the actor Charles Laughton. This is the only film he's ever directed. It's a one and done. And if it's a list of actors turned directors that made one film, Charles Laughton may be the GOAT. I'm just saying, he may be the GOAT. This film was such a failure at the time that Charles Laughton never made another film. Directed one at least. And this is kind of, Spike Lee loves this film as well. You got love and hate and love. And that comes from this film with Robert Mitchum, he plays kind of a preacher. And he is really this bad boogeyman who is a con man. He cons women. He goes to jail. He tries to steal. He's a bad guy. And these two children, that mother has just died and their father has hid money, who's a robber, and they're just on the run. And that's the film. And it's so beautiful, right? If you're a Kubrick fan, you'll find enjoyment of this. This is also one of those films that's highly recommended. I'm not the first person to recommend it, but this is a beautiful film. I don't want to say too much about it. Robert Mitchum is a menace, and he's a GOAT, and I love him. Okay, Robert Mitchum, I love you. Rest in peace. But Night of the Hunter, 1955. Another 55, like I said, another 50s film. And I got one more 50s film after this. But Night of the Hunter, Essential Criterion. And the last of the 1950s films is Sidney Lumet, 12 Angry Men. I'm not going to talk about this one too much. This is probably one of the talked about films in the collection. It stars Henry Fonda as the only man who wants to discuss this murder case with this kid. And all these 12 Angry Men don't want to talk about it. It's a courtroom drama that takes place in one room, and man, the filmmaking with Sidney Lumet is breathtaking. This was his directorial debut. Now, he was making television and maybe TV films beforehand, but the theatrical, this is his first film. And you know what, Sidney Lumet, this is a great film to start with. I love this cover. I believe this was done by Sean Phillips. Yeah, I believe this is done by Sean Phillips. And yeah, he does that. You know, this is not a noir, but like that not noirish 1950s style. Great film. Can't really talk too much about it. It's not a lot of twists and turns. It's just great acting, right? And it really taught me when I watched this. The older generation's always going to complain about the youngers. Oh, back in my day, kids were like this. And then back in their day, kids were like something else. And back in my day, kids were... It's always like that. And it made me realize, oh, it's just, adults being adults. And, judging these children on other criteria that they did not judge themselves. It's funny. It's very similar to the film, no, not at all similar, but similar in theme to Midnight in Paris, where there is no such thing as a golden age, where right now is your golden age. But that's not in the Criterion Collection. But yeah, spine number 591, 12 Angry Men. This next guy, all these people are legends, but this guy is an absolute legend. Rest in peace, Mr. David Lynch, and that is David Lynch's first film, Eraserhead. I rewatched this when I heard about his death earlier this year, and man, it was a trip. There is no other film like this. You got Jack Nance right there with his hair, and this is a film you can't really tell people about. I can tell you the whole film, and I can tell you my experiences. I can tell you what I think about it, and you can take away something totally different. It's a beautiful film. I love these digipacks that they did with the Lynch films. Great booklet. I really can't tell you that much about it. This is Lynch's first film. I can tell you, Mr. Stanley Kubrick was a fan of it. Was one of his favorite films, and he made The Shining shortly after. So maybe if you want to understand The Shining better, maybe you watch Mr. David Lynch, Eraserhead. Kind of horror, kind of family drama. I know it's not a 1950s film, but Lynch loves 50s nostalgia, and this film is kind of about a messed up nuclear family. So, maybe the 50s had something going, but yeah, David Lynch, rest in peace, GOAT. I loved your films. You're a great person, great man, and keep making films in heaven. Coffee break. If you're having a good time, hit that thumbs up right now. I love the Criterion Collection. Now you can see I got a good amount of them, and I just love talking about Criterion. So hit that subscribe button if you love Criterions or films in general. The coffee I'm drinking today is Cafe Bustelo. It's the best. All right, back to our normal programming. 1967, spine number 791. Truman Capote's In True Blood. Putting true crime on the map. Truman Capote already did that with his book, and then Richard Brooks did that again with his film. Cinematographer Conrad Hall. Out of all these films I have, this is probably the least essential, which sounds bad, but this film is essential in, like I said, the true crime sense, right? That was not really a thing, right? I know we got the TV show Monster, with Ed Gein and all these things, Goodfellas. True crime is a genre. Back then, it was there, but this really put it on the map. And again, it all goes back to Truman Capote with his book In Cold Blood, which was like a bestseller. This is really about two friends with delusions of grandeur. It's about trauma. It's about murder. And it's about what does a man do when they're on death row, right? And what makes a man murder. Brilliant film. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. Spine number 1241. Directed by Peter Bogdanovich. I can never say his name right. Peter, you know who you are. Rest in peace. Another GOAT that we lost recently. But that is Paper Moon. I'm a huge fan of Peter, first film Targets. But Paper Moon is more of that prestige film. It's about Ryan O'Neal and his daughter, Tatum O'Neal, but in this they're not father and daughter, as Bible salesmen and basically con men, right? And as they go through, I believe, the 1930s, Dust Bowl. And this is another film I really don't want to tell you too much about. Because, again, these films are experiences. These are not films that, if I told you the plot, it does not take away from the film. If I told you the plot, it'd actually probably be easier, right? You already know what to expect. And then anything magical that happens, it's all gravy there. But this is a beautiful tale shot in beautiful black and white. In Cold Blood was also shot in black and white. And these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of the films are black and white films. Again, not intentional, but again, this is essential list. And what Peter Bogdanovich, what he was, when it was that that film brat era, but slightly before the film brat era, the early New Hollywood days, it was the BBS days where it was the main guy I can think of as Dustin Hoffman, not Dustin Hoffman. What's his name again? This box set, right? You got Easy Rider, 5 Easy Pieces, that era, right? And that era was kind of, those guys were like, and Last Picture Show's on here, which is also this guy. And those guys were rejecting Hollywood. Like, they were like, I'm better than you, you stink. And that's cool, that was like the new French wave spirit. While Peter here, he respected the classics, Howard Hawks, John Ford, Orson Welles. Those were his gods, and he knew them too. His style was classic Hollywood, so it's a classic Hollywood style during the 1970s. Beautifully acted. Tatum O'Neal was breathtaking as this little girl, breathtaking, and her father Ryan was like, you wanted to choke him out how slimy he was. Tatum O'Neal was so good she won the Oscar for this film. This is a film before I was buying 4Ks. There's a 4K. The box set's beautiful. The slipcase is beautiful. I got the Blu-ray. Don't get me wrong. I love the Criterion's, cases. But if I were you, I would always future-proof. You starting your Essential Collection, I would always future-proof your stuff. Start buying the 4Ks, and because they come with the Blu-rays anyway. But yeah, pick up Paper Moon. So here's the Essential Criterions. Actually, at least Volume 1. I may make a Volume 2. Recap is 7 Samurai, The 400 Blows, 7th Seal, Do the Right Thing, Paths of Glory, The Night of the Hunter, 12 Angry Men, Eraserhead, In Cold Blood, and Paper Moon. Yeah, I think that's a great star set. If you went to Barnes & Noble during July or November or a flash sale and you bought all these films and you watched them, you're a certified cinephile. But yeah, that's a good starter set, I think. What do you guys think? What do you think about these films, or what else would you recommend to be someone's starter pack for a Criterion Collection? I think this is a good start. If you don't know already, my name's Jack, and this is Manelli Studio Entertainment. I talk about Criterions and other physical media and comic books, and I just love talking about stuff, films and comics and movies and stuff like that. If you want to follow, my reviews, just hit the subscribe button and like and comment below what you thought about the video. Or what would you recommend someone started the Criterion Collection? I would love to know. I love the Criterion Collection. I'll be picking up some more films this November, so stay tuned with that. And I got a playlist right here that will show you everything that I've done about Criterion so far. So if you're interested in that, click that. Until next time, watch more movies.